A limping black woman waved at passing headlights, and every driver pretended not to see her. A group of bikers stopped, laid a jacket on her shoulders, and saw the bruising hidden beneath. Thina Carr crawled by twice, and when she whispered, "Please don't let him take me," those hardened bikers felt their stomachs turn, because they finally recognized the fear everyone else ignored. Hit subscribe for more emotional stories like this. We post one every day. The highway was quiet, the kind of lonely stretch where even the moon seemed to mind its own business. Then, headlights cut through the dark. A pack of bikers rolled up slow, engines rumbling low like thunder in their chests. And there, in the beam of a single headlamp, was a woman, a black woman, limping. One hand clutched her side, knuckles white, like she was holding something in. Pain or fear. "Whoa, whoa, ease up," the lead biker murmured, kicking his boot down. The bikes hissed to silence, chrome cooling in the night air. She flinched at the sound. Didn't scream. Didn't run, just stared at them like she was deciding if she'd finally reached the end of something. "You all right, ma'am?" the lead rider asked, voice gentle under all that leather. She shook her head once. Slow, breath sharp, eyes glassy. "Name?" he asked. Silence. He tried again, softer. "We just want to help." That's when she backed up. One slow step, like a wounded deer watching the hunter's hands. "No names," she whispered. Her voice crackled, like she hadn't used it in hours. The bikers shared glances, brows raised. Even tough men can feel when something don't add up. One of them stepped forward, offered his jacket, heavy, warm. She hesitated, then took it, pulled it tight around her ribs like she'd been cold for a long time. "You from around here?" "No." "You got anyone we can call?" She swallowed. No, every answer was smaller, quieter. That's when one of the bikers saw it. A dark smear under her shirt. Blood. "Ma'am, you're hurt," he said, voice dropping low. "I'm fine," she breathed. But her knees trembled, and she caught herself on the guardrail. That wasn't fine. He reached for her arm, gentle, and she jerked away so hard her breath cracked. "Don't touch, please." Hurt wasn't the only thing in her voice. There was history in it. Something ugly, something recent. The bikers stiffened, all at once, like old instincts snapped awake. "Listen," the lead rider said softly. "We're not here to scare you." The woman's eyes darted down the empty road, then over her shoulder, like she was expecting headlights. "Please," she whispered, voice breaking. "Don't say my name. Don't ask. Don't write nothing down." Now, the bikers weren't just curious. They were worried. People don't hide their names at midnight on an empty road without a reason. And back at their club, they'd learned a simple rule. Fear has fingerprints. One of the men leaned close and murmured, "Who's chasing you?" Her breath hitched, and she shook her head, tiny, terrified. "I can't say." The lead rider nodded slowly. "All right. No name, no questions, but you're coming with us. You're bleeding." She froze. "You can trust us," he added, voice steady. The woman closed her eyes. One long, shaking exhale. "Just don't let them find me." Engines growled back to life. Chrome glowed against the moon, and as they guided the limping woman toward the bikes, every leather jacket felt heavier. Because deep down, every biker knew this wasn't just a rescue. It was the beginning of somebody else's trouble, bleeding right into theirs. Engines cooled outside the clubhouse, exhaust rolling off into the night like old ghosts. Inside, the woman sat stiff on a bar stool, knees pressed together, eyes darting like a trapped bird. One of the older bikers, gray beard, soft hands, slid a leather jacket over her shoulders. Slow, respectful. And that's when she froze. Her fingers pinched the collar, tracing the stitching. The patch, a skull over crossed wings. Her breath stuttered. "I've seen this before," she whispered. The room went quiet, real quiet. Bikes don't scare these men, but silence can say things nobody wants to hear. "You sure?" the lead rider asked, voice low. She nodded, eyes unfocused, like she was walking back through time. "My daddy, he had this. He wore it on long weekends. Back when I was small. Said the men who wore it always looked after their own." A couple jackets shifted, pride straightening tired backs. But she swallowed hard. The night he disappeared, 2 men with this patch came to our house. Mama slammed the door. Their boots shook the floorboards. The bikers frowned. "Those weren't our colors," the lead rider muttered. "Some folks wore the patch without earning it. Caused trouble we paid for." Her shoulders loosened. Barely. But that fear didn't fade. It clung like smoke. "Your dad's name?" one biker asked softly. She flinched. "No names." "Right." That rule again. An older patch holder pulled a dusty photo album from behind the bar, pages thick with road grit and memories. He flipped, stopped. A picture, early 80s, same patch, same grin she carried around her eyes. "That him?" he asked. Her hand trembled over the photo, hovered, then slammed shut. "Yes," she breathed. "That's him." The bikers traded looks, the kind that said trouble's deeper than we thought. "He was a brother," one whispered. "And somebody took him," another growled. She winced, breath shaky. "I never knew what happened. Mama said some men in these jackets took him away. She made me hide in the closet." I remember their patches glowing in the headlights. The club president leaned forward, voice like gravel and truth. "Ma'am, that wasn't us. But whoever wore our colors wrong. We got a ledger for that." She blinked, tears finally spilling. "I didn't want to hate you," she whispered. "But that patch, it scared something deep." The old biker nodded. "That's history talking, not us." He placed the jacket tighter around her shoulders. "Tonight, you're under our wing," he promised. "And no pretender's gonna touch you." Outside, headlights swept past the window. Slow, creeping. Every jacket stiffened. Eyes sharp, jaws set. The woman's breath cracked. "They found me." And just like that, bikers shifted. Boots hit floorboards. Heavy steel whispered from leather sheaths. Because patches can be misused, but brotherhood never lies. They guided her into a roadside diner, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and coffee older than the cook. Warm light spilled over her face, and that's when everyone saw it. Purple streaks blooming across her ribs, finger-shaped, fresh. The waitress gasped. "That ain't no fall, honey." The woman hissed as she lowered into the booth, one hand pressed tight to her side. A biker slid her a cup of warm tea, hands gentle as prayer. "You mind telling us who did that?" the club president asked. She shook her head. Too fast, eyes down, voice thin. "No names." There it was again, that wall. Outside, a car purred past. Dark windows, slow roll. She flinched so hard the tea almost spilled. The oldest biker's brow twitched. You know that car? She tried to steady her breath. Didn't succeed. I hear that muffler in my sleep, she whispered. It's been following me since yesterday. The waitress locked the front door. One click at a time, another pass. Same car, lights off. The bikers, who'd been calm all night, suddenly weren't. One stood up, shoulders wide as the doorway. Another tilted the blinds with 2 fingers. Engines growled quietly out in the lot, their steel wolves waiting. The woman swallowed, throat bobbing. He said, if I ever talked, if I ever told what I saw at that old warehouse. Her voice cracked. What warehouse? The president pressed. She clamped her lips shut, panic rising like floodwater. That's enough, the graybeard murmured. She needs breath, not pressure. But as the car crept past a third time, slower, she whispered, barely audible. He drives that car. The president's jaw set, granite and thunder. You sure? Her eyes trembled. He marked me to warn others. A biker touched her shoulder, feather soft. Ma'am, whoever did this to you ain't gonna get another chance. Outside, tires screeched, sudden, angry. The woman jumped, clutching the jacket tighter. The graybeard leaned close, voice low, steady. You're safe now. You hear me? Safe. But she didn't believe it. Not yet. Because fear doesn't leave when the door locks. It leaves when justice walks in. The bikers stepped out onto the gravel, steam curling from their engines like angry breath. That same dark sedan rolled past again, slower, watching. The club president narrowed his eyes, then snapped his fingers. Someone get that plate, now! One biker jogged alongside the creeping car, scribbling the numbers as the taillights faded into dark. Back inside the diner, he slapped the napkin on the counter. The owner, Miss Darla, reached for her reading glasses, but the second her eyes hit the napkin, she went ghost white. Coffee cup slipped right out of her hand, shattered on tile. Where'd you see this? She whispered. Circle in the lot, the president said. 3 times. Her hands trembled like loose shutters in a storm. That's the sheriff's nephew's plate. Chairs creaked. Conversation died. Even the old jukebox in the corner seemed to choke on silence. The biker who'd written it down frowned. You sure? Darla nodded, watery eyes blinking fast. I used to do his laundry when he was a kid. Always had that plate. Been trouble since he started breathing. The woman in the jacket closed her eyes. Defeated. That's why the police wouldn't take my report, she whispered. He works for men who think they own this town. Every biker in the booth stiffened. The president leaned forward, voice low, dangerous. Darlin', what happened at that warehouse? Her lip trembled. She shook her head. Again, fear tightening its grip. Darla swallowed hard and looked around the diner. You boys best be careful. Folks who cross that family. She glanced at her flickering porch light. They disappear. Outside, tires screeched again. This time, they didn't pass. They stopped. Doors opened. Boots hit gravel. The bikers exchanged a look. Cold, quiet, understood. The graybeard muttered. Seems trouble just parked. Engines rumbled low as the bikers escorted the woman to their old warehouse down by the river. A fortress of rusted metal, dust, and secrets. Inside, fluorescent lights flickered awake like tired eyelids. The president motioned to an old filing cabinet in the corner. "Crank it open," he muttered. The gray-beard biker gave the drawer a yank. Metal groaned. Dust puffed. Stacks of case folders, newspaper clippings, police logs. Decades of trouble this club had kept watch over. The woman stood near the doorway, arms crossed tight, still wearing that borrowed leather. "Why do you keep all this?" she whispered. The graybeard answered without looking up. "We didn't used to call cops for help. We kept our own receipts, finally." The president pulled a thin file stamped with the same plate number scribbled on the napkin. L9KVT. He flipped it. Open, battery, assault, intimidation, trespassing. Same suspect. Same pattern. He turned the page. Dismissed, dismissed, dismissed. 3 times. The younger biker frowned. "That ain't chance." "No," the president growled, tapping the name printed in bold at the top. "Not when you're related to the sheriff, and your uncle signs the paperwork." The woman swallowed hard. Eyes glassy, so he just keeps getting away with it? The graybeard let out a low whistle. "Girl, men like this grow roots. Small towns protect their poison." The president held up a mugshot. Young, smug, eyes that dared you to protest. "That man follow you out of town?" She hesitated, then nodded, slow. "He said I made a scene when I tried to file the report. Said if I left town without apologizing, he'd track me down." The youngest biker slammed his fist into a steel table. The echo shook dust loose. "And the law let him." The president closed the file, firm, as if sealing a promise. "We're done asking questions politely." Outside, a motorcycle rolled up quietly. A courier handed them a thin envelope. "Confidential." The president tore it open. Inside, a 4th complaint. Same suspect. Victim disappeared. Case closed. The room went silent. "This town has been covering for him," the graybeard whispered. "For years." The woman backed toward the wall, breath shaking. "Please, I never asked for this trouble." The president placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You didn't ask, but it found you." He looked to his men. Voice iron. "Tonight, we return the favor." Engines outside roared awake, and something in the woman's eyes flickered from fear to hope. Engines were cooling outside, ticking like anxious heartbeats, when a loud knock echoed through the warehouse doors. The president raised a brow. "Nobody's expected." A younger biker peeked through the cracked blinds and cursed under his breath. "Sheriff's here." The woman stiffened. Instantly, like every muscle got wired to fear. Her fingers dug into the borrowed leather jacket. Don't let him take me," she whispered, voice trembling so soft it hurt to hear. The president turned slow. "You know him?" Her eyes shimmered with tears that refused to fall. "That's his uncle." Silence hit the room like thunder. The same uncle who signed those dismissals. The same name at the bottom of every dropped charge. Outside, boots scraped concrete. "Open up," the sheriff barked. "Got a report of a missing female. She's in danger. I'll take it from here." The president didn't move. "Funny," he muttered. "Danger's been circling ever since your kin got involved." Another knock. Harder. "You boys don't want to obstruct law enforcement," the sheriff growled, hand hovering near his belt. Inside, the woman shook her head. "Panic spilling now. You don't understand." "He warned me. Said if I ever talked, he'd make sure I vanished. Same as the others." A ripple of chills rolled through the room. The gray-beard biker leaned in. Others? Her knees weakened. 3 women, all filed complaints, all gone. Everyone pretends they moved. The president clenched his jaw, veins showing like cords. Outside, the sheriff rattled the handle. You let her out, or I come in. Last chance, the youngest biker whispered through his teeth. Man ain't asking, he's huntin'. The woman's voice cracked, raw, desperate. Please, no badge has ever protected me. But you did. Don't give me back. Those words landed heavy, heavier than steel. The president snapped his fingers. Sharp. Back room. Now. They guided her behind a sliding metal door just as the warehouse entrance swung open. The sheriff stepped in, wide brim hat casting shadows, hand resting on his sidearm. I know she's here. The president folded his arms. You know a lot of things, most of 'em dirty. The sheriff's smile was thin, hungry. That girl's confused. My nephew was helping her. The graybeard spat on the floor. Help don't leave bruises. The sheriff's eyes twitched, just once. You hand her over, or I bring a SWAT stack that'll level this place. Engines outside revved, loud, echoing across the river. The club wasn't alone. More jackets arrived. More headlights. More brothers. The president stepped closer, inches away. We ain't handin' nothin'. Not tonight, not ever. The sheriff's face paled just a shade. You think jackets scare the law? No, the president said, voice dropping to a growl. Truth does. He held up the file. Thick, stamped, copied. And we got enough to bury your nephew and your badge. A muscle twitched in the sheriff's jaw. The threat landed. Engines growled louder. The sheriff backed toward the door. Slow. Mumbling. This ain't over. Then he left, tires spitting gravel into the night. When the door shut, the president leaned on the metal, exhaling long. Inside the back room, the woman sobbed. Relief and terror tangled together. The youngest biker wiped her tear with a knuckle. He ain't taking you, he promised softly. Not while we breathe. Outside, a lone car idled in the dark, headlights off. Watching. Waiting. Tomorrow. Would be worse. Sunrise cracked pale across the warehouse windows. Dust drifting like quiet ghosts in the beams. The woman sat at a battered wooden table, hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking. Her eyes were tired, bone-tired. But this time, she didn't look away. The president nodded once. Talk to us. All of it. She swallowed hard. You ever wonder why charges kept getting dropped? Her voice shook, but she pushed through. I worked at the county clinic. I started noticing the bruises, the patterns. Different girls, same story. She closed her eyes. Same last name, same sheriff's family. A biker cursed under his breath. The graybeard leaned forward. You reported it? She nodded slow. To the sheriff himself. I trusted the badge. Her shoulders quivered, and he handed every name back to his nephew. Told him who talked, who needed teaching. Silence hit. Thick, bitter. She rubbed her ribs. I started smuggling the girls out. Safe houses, bus tickets, anything. It was working, until someone figured out I was the leak. The youngest biker's jaw tightened. So they came for you. She nodded. Night after night, cars circling, phone calls with no voice. Doors unlocked when I know I locked them. She exhaled through her teeth. I wasn't the first to get warned. I was just too stubborn to shut up. The president dragged over a dusty tape recorder. Old school. You're gonna tell that same story in town, sweetheart. But you ain't going alone. She blinked. Why? He tapped the recorder, voice dropping to a rumble. 'Cause once folks see you ain't afraid, their fear's gonna crack too. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Click, the tape spun. She spoke. Names, times, locations, badge numbers. Everything she'd buried to survive. Halfway through, she froze. Breath caught. The sheriff's brother owns the towing company. That's how they move girls. Unmarked vans? No tracking. The youngest biker slammed his fist lightly on the table. Lord, have mercy. And the judge? She whispered. He signed sealed warrants, but never executed them. Buried in drawers. The room leaned back as one, horrified. This wasn't personal anymore. This was county-wide rot. The graybeard wiped his forehead. Girl, your testimony don't blow open a door. It blows the entire courthouse off its foundation. The president hit stop on the recorder. We take this tape to the state investigators. Not local, not county. She hesitated. Then why are you crying? She asked softly. He cleared his throat. 'Cause when this hits, the whole nest gets mad. And snakes bite. Outside, tires rolled slow through gravel. Same car. Same headlights off. The woman's breath hitched. The president nodded toward the back exit. You're safe here, but we move at dawn. Engines revved, brothers waking, jackets thrown on, hands resting near steel. This wasn't just protection anymore. It was war. Weeks rolled by like slow thunder. Subpoenas, depositions, whispers in grocery store aisles. But this morning, the county courthouse buzzed like a hornet nest somebody finally kicked open. Engines rumbled outside. Dozens of motorcycles lined the street, chrome shining in the early light. Folks pulled curtains. Deputies stiffened. Because when that black woman stepped out of the van, every patched jacket in that club surrounded her. Silent, unblinking, unmovable. Inside, the courtroom doors swung open, and the sound died. You could hear the judge's breath catch. His gavel hand trembled, knuckles white, eyes scanning those leather backs like he was staring at history he'd hoped never to meet. The sheriff sat at the defense table, sweaty, pale, shrinking. His nephew twisted a cheap tie, trying to hide the handcuffs biting his wrists. Several county suits looked anywhere but at the victim. The prosecutor pressed play on the tape. Names, dates, transport routes, judges, warrants. A county's skeletons spilled into the open, hands to mouths, and the sheriff's wife burst into tears. The judge swallowed, hard, then stood. By authority of federal statute, I hereby sentence, his voice cracked. He looked at her. You should have been protected. She blinked tears down her cheek. I protected myself, she whispered. The sentence hit like a freight truck. The gallery erupted. Cheers, sobs, prayers said under breath. Two bikers, men with hands like anvils and faces carved from stone, wiped their eyes quick, hoping no one saw. But everybody did, because it wasn't sadness. It was relief. The president of the club leaned down beside her. You ain't limping alone no more. She exhaled, long, shaking, shoulders finally unburdened. Reporters swarmed the hall, flashing cameras, firing questions. She held up a hand. Quiet. I didn't win this, she said. We did. Every person who didn't look away. Outside, the engines roared back to life, one by one, escorting her home like a rolling wall of thunder. A little girl on the courthouse steps tugged her mother's sleeve. "Mama, who are they?" Her mother smiled, voice soft. "Reverent heroes, baby, real ones." And as the bikes rumbled off into sunrise, folks noticed something glinting in the woman's hand. That leather jacket, the same one draped around her shaking shoulders weeks ago. She held it tight against her heart. Sometimes the toughest angels don't have wings. They've got engines, leather, and the courage to stop when everyone else drives past.